Today we're gonna do something we've never done before. Spoilers. I'm usually totally against talking about spoilers. This channel is for recommendations. To work around this in my own way, I'm going to introduce the film so you'll know and you can skip to the next part of the video. But again, watch at your own discretion because some films in here, the twists are just so juicy and they really shocked me the first time I saw them. All of them. Let's get into it. Horror movie twists that shocked us all. First, let's talk about horror film Orphan. This film features a twist that unveils the true identity of the main character and an unsettling secret she has been hiding. The twist revolves around the character Esther, a 9-year-old girl who has been adopted by couple Kate and John. Throughout the film, Esther presents herself as a sweet and innocent child who quickly integrates into the family. However, as the story progresses, strange and disturbing events start to occur, leading Kate to suspect that there may be something deeply wrong with Esther. The twist comes when Kate discovers Esther's true identity. It's revealed that Esther is not a child, but a grown woman who suffers from a rare hormonal condition. She has escaped from a mental institution, assuming the identity of a young girl, and has been scheming to infiltrate a new family and continue her twisted agenda. Her ultimate plan was to eliminate Kate and take her place as the wife and mother of the family. It's a shocking twist that was really well marinated in this story, and there's even real stories that don't fall far from the same narrative, but this film doesn't claim to be based on anything. Okay, this next one is very disturbing, so warning. Oldboy. The 2003 South Korean film Oldboy is directed by Park Chan-wook, and it follows Dae-soo, who is mysteriously imprisoned in a small room for 15 years without knowing the reason behind his captivity. During this time in confinement, Dae-soo becomes increasingly desperate for answers and plans his escape. But one day he is freed and he embarks on a mission to take revenge on his captor. He also befriends a woman on the outside, and their relationship grows as he hunts down his captor. When Dae-soo finally confronts his captor, it is a shocking revelation as his captor explains that Dae-soo's imprisonment was not random, but a planned act of revenge. It's revealed that many years ago, he witnessed a disturbing event involving the captor and his sister. To protect his secret, the captor orchestrated Dae-soo's kidnapping, ensuring that he would suffer immensely for 15 years. However, the twist goes even deeper, and here's the dark part. As a part of this revenge, the captor manipulated Dae-soo into falling in love with that young woman, the one we mentioned earlier. It seemed to be all coincidental, but it turns out this is actually Dae-soo's own daughter. It's a gut-wrenching revelation that leaves both him and the audience stunned. It's truly revenge served cold. The Oldboy twist is notorious for its dark and disturbing nature, completely shifting the viewer's perception of the story and characters, and it's guaranteed to be one you won't forget. One of my favorites of all time. The Saw franchise contains many twists, but nothing was as exciting as the reveal in the first entry. The idea of Saw revolves around a character known as Jigsaw, who is the mastermind behind a series of deadly traps and tests that the main characters find themselves in throughout the movies. Jigsaw is a serial killer with a unique motivation. Instead of simply taking lives, he seeks to teach the victims a valuable lesson, which I never really understood this part, but you know, to value your own life first, he has to give you a chance of survival. Throughout the first film, Jigsaw's identity remains a mystery as he communicates with his victims through tapes and through a puppet named Billy. In this first entry, we follow Lawrence, Gordon, and Adam, who wake up in a seemingly gritty bathroom with no memory of how they got there. They soon discover that they are part of one of Jigsaw's sadistic games. As the story unfolds, it becomes apparent that Dr. Gordon has been chosen by Jigsaw to prove his dedication to life by sacrificing himself or by killing Adam. Meanwhile, Adam discovers a bag with various tools and a tape recorder. And as time runs out, tensions begin to rise between these two characters, and in a climactic moment, Dr. Gordon, desperate to save his family, saws off his own foot to escape the chains and leaves Adam in the room alone. And this is where things get good. In an unexpected twist, it is revealed that Jigsaw has been in the room the whole time. And it's not the shadowy figure that we thought. The one that's been watching and overseeing the game, that turns out to be Zepp, who was another one of Jigsaw's puppets, and his challenge was to ensure that the game in the room was carried out as planned. But the real Jigsaw was disguised as the seemingly lifeless body between Dr. Gordon and Adam, laying on the floor the whole time. When Jigsaw reveals himself, the film ends with a chilling montage showing how he pulled off such an elaborate scenario, and Jigsaw slams the door shut, leaving Adam inside to rot as the movie ends. Game over. Let's talk about The Boy. The 2016 horror film The Boy is the story of Greta, an American woman who takes a job as a nanny for an elderly British couple traveling to their mansion in the UK. But when she arrives, she finds out that the boy she is to take care of is a porcelain doll, and the couple have some bizarre rules around his care. It's slowly revealed that Brahms is their way of coping with the death of their son who died in a fire. Throughout the movie, Greta becomes increasingly suspicious of the doll. It's a horror movie after all. It's moving on its own, it's making sounds, and it's strangely possessive of her. And finally, Greta reveals the truth. It's not the doll that's been moving, but the real Brahms who has been speaking through him. He emerges from the walls of the house where he has been living after surviving the fire. He is now an adult and he wears the mask, the same mask the doll does. It's worth noting that there is a sequel to The Boy titled Brahms, The Boy 2, which came out in 2020, which has further explanations to the story and introduced new twists. But honestly, The Boy, it just really elevates an already entertaining but standard 2010 kind of horror movie. I love the idea that he was there the whole time watching her through the walls, and somehow that's more terrifying than anything paranormal with a doll. You know what? The next one, we're going to talk about The Sixth Sense, and I'm sure you already know, so I'm not too worried about spoilers for this one. And I have to say, all M. Night films are written with a twist, all ones that he wrote himself. But because I didn't want this list to be dedicated to just M. Night, I just kept this one because it's the biggest twist of all. Although I'd recommend his other films, The Village and Signs, for great twists. The story in The Sixth Sense centers around the character of Dr. Malcolm Crowe, a child psychologist, and his young patient Cole. Throughout the film, Dr. Crowe forms a bond with Cole, but who claims to be plagued by the ability to see and communicate with dead people, aka ghosts. Cole's supernatural encounters cause him a great deal of distress and isolation, leading to him seeking the help of Dr. Crowe. As the story progresses, the doctor becomes invested in understanding and assisting Cole, but Dr. Crowe also has his own struggles, with his marriage falling apart. The twist comes near the end of the film when it's revealed that Dr. Crowe himself is a ghost. I mean, the boy warned you, I see dead people. It seems so obvious when you watch the film back, but honestly, at the time, it was revolutionary. The realization occurs when Dr. Crowe begins to recall certain clues that have been all subtly presented throughout the movie, but initially went unnoticed by the audience. Key hints include that Dr. Crowe was always wearing the same clothes, and of course, no one except for Cole directly interacts with him. He also failed to realize that his wife never directly acknowledges them, but this is why we assumed that his marriage was falling apart. The twist reframes the narrative and provides a new perspective on the interactions between the main characters. The film ends with Dr. Crowe recognizing his own death and realizing that his purpose was to help Cole come to terms with his abilities and find peace. I know a lot of people claim that they guessed this twist watching the film for the first time, but it still remains to be one of the most famous twists other than Rosebud in cinematic history. Next, let's do it. Let's talk about Sleepaway Camp. This has become a cult classic because it harbors one of the most out of left field and controversial twists of all time, many people today still discussing the intentions behind it. The film follows Angela, a shy, traumatized young girl who is sent to summer camp with her cousin. Shortly after her arrival, anyone who messes with her winds up dead. The audience is led to believe that Angela is just a victim and may even suspect other characters as the potential killer. However, in the final scene, the twist is revealed. Angela is actually Peter, the sibling of the real Angela who died years earlier in a boating accident. Peter had survived the accident but was raised as a girl by his unstable aunt who wanted a daughter. The film ends with a shocking shot of Angela naked, revealing their genitalia. They're also standing over the last remaining survivor, staring blankly. I cannot explain how bizarre this whole scene is. The revelation explains Angela's odd behavior throughout the film and her intense desire for revenge against those who wronged her. The twist in Sleepaway Camp is often cited for its unexpected and controversial nature. It's a very complex issue that is revealed in an interesting, strange way. I mean, they show everything, and I'd be lying if I did not add this to the list because it truly was one of the biggest twists in horror. Here's one I absolutely loved, Ghost Stories. This is a UK anthology film based on a 2010 stage play of the same name. The movie is about skeptical professor Philip Goodman, who embarks on a trip devoted to debunking fraudulent paranormal claims. This time, Goodman is invited to investigate 3 supposed ghost sightings. As he delves into each case, Goodman tries to find rational explanation for the supernatural occurrences. However, the truth gradually unravels, revealing a much darker reality. The twist is revealed that Goodman is actually in a hospital suffering from locked-in syndrome, a condition that leaves him paralyzed and unable to communicate. The characters, incidents, and settings he encountered throughout the entire movie were constructs of his own mind, inspired by the hospital environment and the people caring for him. But the twist deepens when Goodman realizes that the events that he witnessed were manifestations of his unresolved guilt and trauma from a childhood incident. In the end, it becomes clear that Goodman's experiments were a combination of hallucinations, memories, and subconscious manifestations. His mind created a surreal world where he was confronted by his past and grappled with his own internal demons. The way that this twist is wedged into an anthology horror is both clever and disturbing. It's a fantastic film that really caught me off guard with its shocking twists. And if that wasn't depressing enough, let's talk about The Mist. This is a film directed by Frank Darabont. It is based on the novella by Stephen King, but the movie pushes the original story to the brink of doom and despair, changing the ending and making it one of the most shocking and depressing twists ever. The story follows a group of people who become trapped in a small town supermarket when a strange mist engulfs the area, filling it with terrifying creatures. As the group struggles to survive, tensions rise and conflicts emerge among them. The twist comes when the protagonist David and a few others struggling with the community inside the supermarket attempt to escape the building with a vehicle. They drive through the thick mist, encountering various horrors along the way, but eventually they run out of gas and they find themselves stranded. Feeling hopeless and believing that they are about to be killed by these monsters, David decides to spare his companions from a gruesome death, and he takes out a gun and kills everyone, including his own son, as an act of mercy. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, David prepares to face his own death, expecting the creatures to get him at any moment. However, fate had a different plan. Just as he's about to give up, a military convoy emerges from the mist, revealing that help was here. It had arrived. David and the audience realized that he had been on the brink of survival when they had made the tragic decision to end their own lives. And if they had waited merely minutes, they all would have survived. The ending had audiences shocked, Stephen King applauding it, saying he couldn't have written it better. Another amazing twist comes in the form of The Others. This takes place in a haunted mansion where Grace Stewart resides with her 2 children, Anne and Nicholas. The children suffer from a photosensitivity disease, and Grace becomes convinced that their isolated country house is haunted. Strange occurrences, including sights of mysterious figures, lead Grace to fear the presence of the unknown others. As the story unfolds, Grace hires 3 people to help around the house, and she gives them strict rules to protect her children. But something is just off. Anne claims to have seen a group of people in the house who declare it's theirs. Grace begins to lose grip on reality and can't understand what is happening. She ends up attacking her daughter and just completely losing it when things go missing, like the curtains, which are there to protect the children from the effects of their disease. Finally, after all the haunting encounters, it is revealed that Grace, Anne, and Nicholas are dead, and the others are the family who have moved into their house. A medium reveals through a seance that Grace smothered her children before killing herself in despair. And the 3 people she hired for helping, they were also ghosts who perished during the tuberculosis outbreak, but they were aware of their death. And one of the servants tells Grace that more people will come to the house and they must learn to coexist. The others works because of its subtlety. And while it seems very obvious, again, they were ghosts the whole time, the way the ghosts and timelines are layered makes it a haunting and memorable experience. I saved one of the best and my favorite till last. If you haven't seen the film The Orphanage, it's a classic in its own right, and you should please go watch it before you continue with this video, because obviously I'm about to ruin the twist. This Spanish drama horror mystery follows Laura, who was adopted from an orphanage at a young age. 30 years later, Laura is now an adult and returns to the closed orphanage with her husband Carlos and son Simon. Their plans are to reopen the orphanage, but Simon claims to have befriended a boy named Thomas, who the couple believe are an imaginary friend at first. He starts drawing pictures of Thomas wearing a sack mask. Later, during a party, Laura and Simon argue, leading Simon to hide. While searching for him, Laura encounters a child wearing a sack mask who locks her in the bathroom. When she gets out, she realizes Simon is still missing and turns over the house looking for him. The police suggest that Simon may have been abducted by a social worker who used to work at the orphanage. Unfortunately, 6 months later, Simon is still missing, but the social worker, who was the suspect, is killed, and evidence reveals that she had a son named Thomas, the same Thomas Simon was friends with, the same Thomas that Laura saw. It turns out that Thomas had a deformity and hid under his mask. He died under horrific circumstances after being bullied by the other children. Laura seeks help from a medium who conducts a seance and claims to see the ghosts of the orphans. Laura then discovers their remains in a coal shed, revealing that this social worker had actually poisoned them and killed them in revenge for her son's death. And this is where the true twist comes in. Laura then calls on these ghosts to help her find her son, and they lead her to the truth of what actually happened, and it's not paranormal at all. When Laura was searching for him at the start, she threw things in the way of a door, trapping him inside, and he has been in the building the whole time, his death being a huge accident. If you've seen this film, you know how tragic and horrific it is. It's one of the saddest horror movies I've ever seen. Please watch at your own risk. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please drop in the comments your favorite horror movie twists. Just the movie, because I want to check it out if I don't know the twist yet. A huge shout out to my patrons for supporting me and allowing me to make this content for you for free. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe? And I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye.